These mysterious spacecraft are depicted in many ancient Indian texts, more notably in the Hindu Mahabharata. Tantalizing carvings also allude to this forgotten technology, once used to cruise through the skies. Indian Sanskrit boasts some exceptional flight capabilities. Some texts go even further to explain the various models of Vimana, the fuel they use, and also the design and function of the engines. Further detail reveals the materials needed to construct them and the various training methods required to fly them.
Long ago, in ancient India, there were legendary flying machines known as Vimanas. These mystical aircraft were said to have been used by the gods and demigods, as well as by highly advanced human civilizations. According to Hindu tradition, Vimanas were powered by advanced technology and could travel through the air, as well as through space and time. Some stories even describe them as being able to change shape and size at will. Buddhist texts also mention Vimanas, although they are often referred to as palaces in the sky. These flying machines were said to be the personal vehicles of the gods and were used to transport them from one realm to another. Despite their incredible abilities, Vimanas were not always used for benevolent purposes. Some legends tell of great wars fought in the skies, with armies of Vimanas clashing in epic battles.
Many of the Sanskrit texts on Vimanas speak of using mercury as part of their propulsion. And this would be exactly what NASA is planning to use right now. An ion thruster type spacecraft, which is using solar energy to charge mercury particles that are discharged from the back of the craft, giving it thrust and propelling it into space. So it's really fascinating that engineers at NASA are on the same wavelength as these ancient Vedic texts, which were given to the ancient Hindus by the gods.
The Sanskrit texts of the Hindu and Buddhist tradition talk about incredible flying craft called Vimana. They're sort of a cross between a modern stealth fighter and a flying saucer. They describe several different types, including types that can travel from place to place, craft that can travel across the country, craft that can travel from planet to planet.
The ancient Indians were very clear in describing how Vimanas were used for the gods to come down from their heavenly abodes to earth.
So the question that is on your lips, what is meant by anti-gravity? In the case of the TR-3B Black Manta, it means a craft that uses highly pressurized mercury accelerated by nuclear energy. So the plasma is produced, which in turn creates a field of anti-gravity around the craft. It has an electromagnetic coil at the heart of its motive power system, the result of which is electromagnetic drive that interacts with the Higgs-Boson field at the quantum level. Heady stuff indeed, and definitely something that is probably not common knowledge, or even really provable at this point. So an anti-gravity aircraft doesn't use conventional turbine or rocket engine technology, but instead a propulsion system that creates thrust by generating high-energy plasma. These aircraft are also referred to as flux liners.
All the way back to the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, which are some ancient Indian texts, and there they talk about Vimanas. And in these Vimanas were talked about and written about that actually had mercury engines and were able to levitate and fly silently across the land and transport the kings and elites from place to place. So we actually looked into that and said, could this be possibly real? And the more we looked into it, the more we found that it could potentially be very, very real theoretically. Mm-hmm. So we started experimenting with different concepts of using mercury because that's what they used. And mercury is a ferrofluid. It's actually a liquid metal. So we discovered that by putting this liquid metal into a torus, which is a steel torus with a reverse magnetic field inside of it, to keep the actual fluid from the ferrofluid from touching the inside, and then you actually can bring it up to a rotation to an RPM of about 50,000. Once you do that, and then pressurize that torus to about 250,000 pressures, you then get this amazing anti-gravity bubble. And you don't get complete anti-gravity, but you do get to reduce the weight of an object. With anything within the range of that torus field will be reduced by up to 70% the mass. So these are some of the theories that we're experimenting with, and we're very excited about it because it really looks like we'll be able to provide something that could potentially provide an anti-gravity or reduce the mass of an object.